Hello and welcome to my channel, Razel Dazel. I decided we would take this up into the kitchen, the other place where I live, and talk about washing different animal fibers such as wool, cashmere, which I think the only time I bought cashmere, I got super lucky one time at Goodwill and bought a sweater for like $12. A cashmere sweater for $12 at Goodwill. It's long gone. It got holey and I reused it. Like, I cut it up and used it as lining for headbands. So, anyways, if you're washing items that have wool, any type of animal fiber like the alpaca, it's got to be hand washed, because when you put it in your washer, even on delicate, it's gonna mess with the fibers. And then when you put it in the dryer, it's gonna shrink. It's gonna shrink down to a doll size, which has happened to me before. Accidentally put something in the washer and dryer, because it was in with all the other laundry. And then when it came out, I'm like, oh, this is my sweater. Now it can fit on a teddy bear, So don't do that. If you have items like that, definitely keep them separate. I know it's hard to do. It's hard for me to do that. And usually I don't end up washing it. 6 months later, I've been wanting to wash this scarf for 6 months. And now we're going to do it. It needs washed. It's the first scarf that I made with my hand-dyed yarn. The first time that I hand-dyed yarn. So it's in the sink right now. And I use the Woolite detergent. I'm a big coffee drinker. I'm trying to wake up. It's Friday the 13th. Currently 6:30 at night. Anyways, here we go. So this is what I use, the Woolite detergent. And I'm just washing the item in my kitchen sink. And I probably only use not even half of a capful. Because, well, it's a pretty big scarf. It's a 6-footer. And it's pretty dirty, guys. I don't even know what it smells like. But anyways, it's in here. In the cold water. You gotta use cold water. So what happened when I put it in here, the dye is already starting to come out as I'm washing this. Even in the cold water. See, if you use warm water or hot water, it'll take the dye right out of your yarn. And it'll make your colors fade. So this is probably going to be faded, but hey, I'll get a different color, right? It'll just be faded. I don't even know if I can bring my computer over here to show you what the water looks like. But yeah, it's like this purpley. Let me try here. Let me try to do this. Let's see if we can. There we go. So yeah, the water is definitely, the dyed colors are coming out of the scarf. Wasn't expecting that. But that's okay. At least I'm using cold water. I kind of had this sitting for about 15 minutes because I was washing dishes in the dishwasher and it was making loud noises. And the light in here is terrible. Now I have lights above my kitchen island and they're beautiful. They're very pretty. They look like this one right here that also doesn't work. They look brand new. So whoever put in these brand new beautiful lights obviously didn't know how to run electrical and they don't work. I think this light bulb exploded and there was glass all over the place. So, yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. Okay, so we're just gonna wash it again. Make sure we get all of that detergent out. Just like the pioneer days, girls. Just like you're out in the boonies, you know. It's worth it because these are the warmest fibers you could ever have, especially in the wintertime. They are definitely going to keep you warm. All right. I'm going to plug it back in. And it don't matter what type of fabric softener you use. I got this at Menards. It was on sale, the Snuggle. But I used to, you know, whatever I can find. Now, I'm doing a full cap on this. You know, we're going all out because I want it super soft. So I use a full cap full. And we're just going to let that soak. And I don't put a whole lot of water in there either. Just enough to kind of soak it in there. And at my house, we have well water. Not the greatest. I do have a fabric softener, water softener for the well water. Because the well water, it's nasty. Yeah. It's that rusty yellow water that always smells bad no matter how much you try to treat your well. My husband's been trying to treat the well water. I don't know. I think he's done it about 3 or 4 times already. It's still, yeah, it still smells. So, while we let that soak, we can talk a little bit more about my projects and maybe pricing. We really need to get into pricing so everybody has an idea, because that's something serious. That's something kind of serious. People don't understand, you know. They're like, oh, why can't you just whip up this huge large item and I don't really want to pay for it. Nah, this is not going to work like that. Been there, done that. I've had experience with that. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that because it's not a good thing. Not at all. Coffee. Let's talk coffee. I put it up here. So, Currently addicted to the Blue Lion coffee. This is Holiday Cheer, and it's a local coffee house in Pierceton, Indiana. Love it. So I'm addicted to this stuff. I mean, it's not that expensive, I don't think. I got the whole bean, but you can get ground. I switched to whole bean. I used to always get the ground, but now I'm addicted to the bean, and I was blending it up in my blender because I didn't have a grinder. I got me a grinder. I broke down, went to Walmart, and got the Hamilton Beach coffee grinder. Finally. Because the blender, I mean, the blender does a good job, but it doesn't make it fine enough. So I'm pretty spoiled. And those bags, oh yeah, 16 ounce. So you get 1 pound of coffee for $17. Well, you know, I'm spoiled. I have to have it. I don't think I can budget that because it is really good gourmet coffee. Let's see here. Ah. Okay. Put on my lotion. My Tipsy Goat soap lotion, whipped body butter. Love it. It goes a long ways. The eucalyptus, spearmint eucalyptus. But she's got all different kinds of smells. I love it. All the smelly goods. It don't matter what it smells like. I love it all. So I'm working on the socks. I had to take a little cat nap when I got home from work because I was tired. But when I woke up, I started working on the socks again. And now I'm starting to put, I think it's called the ribbing part. So I'm starting to do that now. I decided not to make it too long. But yeah, I got it all sewn together here. And this is where the seams are. So I might turn it inside out so the seams aren't showing. And it's not too bad because this is really soft. Baby alpaca. Yeah, this is luxurious, like. So these are one of a kind, one of a kind socks. I did try them on my feet and they are super soft and comfortable. They might be a little, like maybe one size too big for me, but actually I'm making these for my husband. So hopefully he wears them. He might not be too crazy about the stripes, but that's just tough cookies because these took forever to make. So yeah, I'm working on that. As soon as I get the ribbing done. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter hook. So it's pretty small. Next time I want to go way smaller and use practically thread. That way you can wear the socks with shoes. Because these, I mean, I don't know. You could probably wear shoes with these but you're going to have some room. Like maybe if you're wearing some boots, like some big boots, you could wear them inside your boot for winter time. As long as you got some room in your boot. Now I am a size 10, size 11 shoe. So, yeah, I have really big feet because my toes are super long. I got what they call witch toes, super long toes. I don't know. So, yeah, I have to have a lot of toe room. Let me tell you how fancy these socks are. Okay. This is not a Walmart sock that was made in China. These socks are probably going to take me all week to finish up here. It's been about a week. I started working on them Sunday morning. Sunday morning I started working on these, and I've been working on these every day for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I'm guessing it's probably going to take me 15 hours straight, like I was working 15 hours straight, just to make these two perfect pair of socks. These are perfect. Every stitch, you know, two pairs. It is not easy to make two pairs of socks perfectly stitch counted. Very difficult to do. Now I am using the 100% baby alpaca from Lion Brand. Yeah, the Lion Brand yarn. It's a very small ball. And actually they didn't have a whole lot of color choices. So I had the dark blue and then this color. And that's all that I had bought. Now, I looked up the price of these, and these go for like $13 a ball. Super expensive. Very expensive. $13 for a ball of the baby alpaca Lion Brand yarn. And then I had the mohair. I had this mohair that I found in my collection, and I'm hoping I have enough. I should, because it's thin. I was mixing it in with the alpaca just to give it a little color. And I did some research because I wasn't sure where the mohair actually came from. It's actually from a goat. A special type of goat. Angora? Is it? It starts with an A. An Angora goat? I don't know. There's rabbit too. They have rabbit yarn as well. And I think that's Angora. But anyways, it comes from a special goat. And it's mohair. The fuzzy goats that have the lots of the fur. So that's where mohair comes from. And I actually did a blanket in the mohair and was experimenting with surface crochet. And in the past, I tried to do the surface crochet, but I couldn't get the tension right because it was either too tight or too loose. But I'm going to tell you something, man. If you use that bamboo yarn and the mohair, it's just like silk, man. It's super smooth. And when I did that surface crochet, it turned out really nice. I was just experimenting with it. The blanket's upstairs. But it was like a gray mohair. And that was a pretty big sized ball that I had gotten. All right. So, this is what I come up with. Now, if I was to make a pair of these and I wanted to sell them, this is going to be the shocker. Okay. 15 hours of work. And I pay myself, not even minimum wage, I'm talking $5. I pay myself $5 an hour to crochet an item. So 5 times 15 hours of work comes to $75. That's just me making the project. I don't think that's unreasonable at all, because I am working, and this is straight. I'm not counting, all the breaks that I take. No, this is if I'm doing it straight through. I get interrupted a lot, because let's face it, you're not going to be able to sit there and crochet for 15 hours straight. And it's super hard to time your project when you're constantly being interrupted. So this is my theory. If it takes me an entire week to make a project, it is a 15-hour project. That's all there is to it. If it takes me an entire week, because I constantly crochet a lot. Sometimes I'll take a whole Saturday and that's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting in bed crocheting all day. My husband is my witness. He knows. I'll be watching TV, we'll watch movies together. And even when we're watching the movies together, I'll be sitting there and I've got yarn in my hand. So, $75 to crochet an item that takes you 15 hours. I mean, there's no getting around it. Yeah, there's no getting around that. I am going to get paid $5 an hour. I'm not going to work for free. No. So the yarn. The one ball costs $13 just for one ball. So, how many balls did I use to make these socks? Because I'm almost done. So, this is what I have left, which is quite a bit. But I still have quite a bit to go. I gotta do this piece here, and then I gotta finish this whole sock for that. We'll see, but I think we're gonna end up using this whole thing. There might be a few dollars off. We don't know yet. So right now, it's just an estimate. But I'm thinking it's going to take 3 balls. 3 balls of this. I used 1 ball for the blue. And Oh no, maybe it is only 2 balls. Because I did a bunch of the heel and toes. We're going to say we used 2 balls. Okay. 2 balls. All right, and I'm not even gonna put the mohair in there or this stripe yarn. I'm not even gonna count that. We're just gonna act like that doesn't even exist. So 2 balls of the baby alpaca yarn would come to $26. I'm not even putting the tax in there. So I'm just, this is an estimate. $26. And then you add the $75 of work. Yeah. These are $100 socks. These are designer socks. I want to turn this one inside out so the seams are on the inside. Of course, I'm using my hand. Probably would be better with like a foot model. So yeah, when I get these done, these socks are going to cost $100. And this is just the stripe, and I want to do mosaics. I want to do the patterns. So these are pretty simple. Pretty simple $100 baby alpaca socks. This is what I mean by designer items. You're not this is the problem, because then people are like, oh, that's so expensive. Those aren't meant to be put in your craft booth. No. Probably shouldn't put those in your craft booth, because when you have a craft booth, people want items that you only spent a couple of hours to make. So this is what I'm gonna do. If I do a craft show, or if I have a craft booth, it's gonna be the items you expect to get for a certain amount of money. Like the crocheted animal nets that only took me an hour to make, and it used a ball of yarn, but it was the cheap yarn, not the fancy stuff. And I think I got that at what, like $11. So yeah, I would sell animal nets in a craft show or a craft booth for $11. Now, do you think if I put an item like this, especially when it's with animal, working with animal, and you can't even put it in the washer and dryer because this is super fancy stuff. You think if I put an item like that in a craft show or a craft booth, that, yeah, people are going to be like, that's really expensive. Yeah, it is, because the yarn is expensive. And it took me 15 hours to make it. And I'm not from China. I live in America, US of A, and I'm a designer. These types of items are things that would basically come off of a runway, you know, fashion designer stuff that takes a super long time to make with luxurious materials. One of a kind. So I don't know. Maybe you guys want to try to make these types of socks and see how many hours it takes you to do them. But there was a lot of pieces to this. So I did the toe, the heel, and then you have to hand sew it all together. And then you put this ribbing on it. And of course, you have to make two of them. They have to match. So yeah. If you're interested in making socks, let me know how that goes for you and what you think you would price it at. So let's say I didn't even worry about the price of the yarn and just paid myself the $5 an hour to make it. So yeah, that would still be $75 for a pair of socks. $5 an hour to make a pair of socks, and it takes 15 hours. You are using a 3.5 millimeter hook. Maybe I'm just not a fast crocheter. Maybe I'm super slow. I don't know, but it's seriously going to take me about 15 hours to make these suckers. So that's why I'm like, yeah, those are $100 socks right there. That's why I kind of wanted to get into the pricing. That's why us makers get grouchy when people talk about that's expensive, and it's like, well, okay, you can either buy the pattern, make them yourself, and see, then come back and tell me your story, okay? Tell me how that went for you. Did you give up? Did you keep going? And hey, you enjoyed it. It took you that long. You're happy with them. You know. Tell me how long it took you to make a pair of socks using a pretty small crochet hook. Now, yeah, if I used a 9mm or a 6mm crochet hook, they'd be huge, chunky, like house slippers. Sure, I could probably get those done maybe in a couple of hours. Okay? That's the difference between the sizes of your hooks and the type of yarns you're using. If you're using a really big yarn versus a really small yarn, how much your yarns cost, this and that. Well, let's see how my scarf is doing. I had it soaking in the fabric softener because I'm trying to soften it. This wool was very, very itchy, the rough stuff, because this is my first time when I was working with wool, and I got the cheapest wool I could find because, you know, I was trying to be a cheapskate, and it was like $5 a skein, which is unheard of. But yeah, it was on sale. I'm like, oh, $5 for wool. I got all excited and jumped on that, not knowing it was going to be super rough and itchy, not fun. But we're going to try and soften it with the fabric softener. See what happens. Maybe it'll get really soft because I think it does help, and I think it's going to soften it up. And it takes a lot of time doing this too, you know. Trying to get your animal fibers hand washed and softened. Is it worth it? Sometimes. Sometimes it's worth it. I think so. For certain items, I think it's worth it. It's just depending on your personality, your fashion sense, what you like to wear. So my everyday wear, obviously, slouchy, comfortable clothes, pajama pants, you know. I like to be comfortable, but if I go out or got invited to something, I would try to dress more appropriately, you know, put on a nice sweater, a dress, try to look halfway decent. But when I'm at home or I'm at work, I'm just going to be comfortable. And so I do love my scarves and my hats. I'm a big scarf hat person. Now I think I am addicted to the socks, and I can see why people love making socks, and that's all they make. It is very addicting. I think I could do that. Just do socks. Okay. So I'm just going to wring it out as best as I can. Try to get all that water out, because the more water that's in your item, the longer it's going to take to dry. And I've had experience with this too. If there's a lot of water in your item and it's not drying fast enough, you get mold. It's going to smell like mold, and you'll have a moldy, smelly scarf. So here's a trick to help get all of that water out as much as you can, as much as possible. Because if you just do this, if you just wring it out and put it on a drying rack, it's going to drip. It's going to drip on the floor, and then you're going to have a water puddle on the floor. I know from experience. This has totally happened to me. And it'd be sitting on that drying rack for like 3 or 4 days, and then it's finally dry and it smells like mold. Okay. So I wringed it out as much as I could. You guys probably see me wearing this all the time at work. It's my favorite. I love this scarf. And I just used a moss stitch with that. Pretty easy, simple stitch. So I got my towel, my bath towel, and I'm just going to put it on the ground. I'm going to put my scarf on one side of the towel here, and then I'm going to flip or fold. I'm going to fold it you know, on top of my scarf. And then I'm going to dance on it. I'm going to do a little dance number. Help soak the water with the bath towel. Just step on it as much as you can. Tippy toes. It helps get the rest of the water out of your scarf or whatever item you have. Because, I mean, whether it be socks or a hat or a sweater, anything that has to be hand washed. And you don't have to have a drying rack. I mean, sometimes they say you have to lay it flat. So you just have to lay it on a flat surface like a table or a ironing board or something. But other items you can hang. I don't know. I always let mine hang. I got a drying rack. I just put it in my craft room. So. Let's see. I'm gonna do the other side. I'm gonna do dance on the other side. And you can tell that this bath towel, it's getting wet. It's soaking it up. This bath towel soaking up the water. But yeah, this is how you take care of your wool items. There we go. So now it's ready to be put on the drying rack that I put the drying rack in my craft room. But that bath towel, it helped to soak up the rest of the water. Oh yeah, it's pretty watery. It's all wet, so yeah. You just wash the bath towel. So that'll just go in the wash. And then I decided what type of yarn I'm going to use to make the doggy sweater for Bailey's doggy. She's going to be a Gucci Poochie. I'm hoping I got enough yarn for this. If not, I'll have to go back to Michael's. I think this is the loops and thread. It's like this. It's really pretty. My lights aren't very good in here, but it's like very shiny. And I got this at Michael's. I love it. That's going to give it some color to do a mosaic. And then I'm going to use the 50% cotton and 50% wool, the Happy Place. And I'm going to do a mosaic. We'll see how it turns out. I was trying to practice with it a little bit, and then I got tired and went to bed. So, good thing I can get my hands on a pit bull, no problem. So I thought, yeah, that should be about the size. I'll probably go see Bruce tomorrow and I can get measurements from him. He's a little bit of a bigger boy, but But I'll be able to take measurements from him, you know, because pit bulls, they got really big, thick necks, and they got a really big head. So you have to make sure that your hole for their head's big enough for them to get it on. Yeah, they got really big heads and necks. They're very big, muscular doggies. And then I did have another, when I was making these doggy sweaters. This is another one of Safi's dog sweaters that I made with just different color yarns. And these are all acrylic. These are just acrylic yarns. See? So this is the chest part, and this is where the legs would go in. And you just put their head in there. I even made like a little loop for their collar. I probably won't do that. I never used that, but... So, yeah, and I made a bunch of these. Like, I started an assembly line with these probably about, it's been a long time, maybe 4 years ago. Is it about 3 or 4 years ago? I can't remember. I'm too old. But yeah, I made a bunch of these. And I put them in my craft booth. Now, granted, not everybody's going to have a puppy this size, because I made them all the same size. And they were like enough for probably about a 25-pounder. So not a very big doggy. Anyways, I made a bunch of those and put them in my craft booth. And I mean, I was only charging $5. So basically I was working for free when I made these. And I was only charging $5. Which is ridiculous, because I'm not sure how long it takes to make. It didn't take me super long to make these, because they weren't very, you know, it's not very big. And I didn't have any type of a crazy pattern or nothing. I just went with what the yarn was doing. So now I'm trying to think how many hours it took me to make this. And it didn't take me that much. Let's see. It probably took me 4 hours, maybe. 4 hours to make this. That's my guess. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 hours, somewhere in there. But still, to put them in your craft booth and sell them for like $5, like, you know, never again. If you want a $5 doggy sweater, go over to China. Get on Temu. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I buy stuff from Temu all the time, and you know, it's cheap stuff, but this stuff's not cheap, and it's gonna run you. Yeah. So as far as business, I mean, I really don't want to start assembly line work. The socks are really fun. So I'll probably do an assembly line with the socks, because those are fun. Like I did do a lot of the heel and toe pieces enough to do one pair, another pair, because I did all these separate. So like with this toe piece, it's front and back, and I had to sew that together. So that was like 2 pieces here, and then the heel is the same way, 2 pieces here. So that's 4 pieces that I crocheted separately and then sewed them together just for the one sock. So it takes 8 pieces of heel and toe to make a pair. 8 pieces of these that you have to hand sew together. So it's a lot of piecing, and the weaving too, with all the colors, all the little strands you get coming through. You have to take your sewing needle and weave all of those strands in so they're not showing and they're tucked in real nice. That's not exactly fun to do, but it has to be done, and it's part of the process. I think the fun part is seeing how they turn out with the patterns. But yeah, these are going to be $100 pair of socks right here. Of course, it's going to be a gift, but that's why a lot of those types of items are for like gifts, because it's insane. It's insane. So now you know, when you're on a website that's selling a designer item and you see these sweaters going for like $500 and $600 for a sweater, that is why. Because it's a one-of-a-kind item, probably done by hand with extreme luxurious materials. Basically, that's what the rich and famous wear in their everyday lives. You know, to be different or what. I'm not saying that we can't do that. You know, let me think of something like purses. Okay. One time I had to have a Dooney and Burke purse, and I got one for my anniversary, and I think it was like $150 for a purse, and I still got it somewhere, but I love that thing. I mean, I got that thing. I've had it for about 10, 15 years. I love it. I still have it. It's still in really good condition. So, you know, sometimes you buy stuff like that to spoil yourself. Fancy items that cost a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah, he spent $150 on my purse. Or my blue, or the lantern moon Tunisian crochet hooks. I paid like over $100 for those. So I did that last year. So that was one of my fancy items, you know. And then of course I just bought a lot of yarn. That's my year's supply. So unless once in a while I'll go to Michael's or Joann's if I have to pick up an extra ball, like if I run out of this and I have to pick up another ball, I have to. If I run out, you know, I'm gonna do that. But other than that, I'm like, no, I'm at my limit. I can't. No, I gotta work with what I got. Yeah, you gotta be strict. Although you get online and look at all the other Stuff's online. It's hard. It's hard. I was looking at sock yarn and I'm like, I'd love to just order, $200 in sock yarn. That would be great. But no, I can't. Mm-mm. Maybe next year. Just got to work with what you got for now. Because otherwise, you'll just end up going bankrupt or something. End up living in a tent outside with all of your yarn. At least I'd stay warm. Alrighty, so anyways, I can talk forever, and hopefully this is good stuff for you to watch while you're crocheting and making projects, because obviously this gets really boring and tedious. And sorry about the pumpkin curtains. It is December, but I don't have time to make Christmas curtains for kitchens, so we're just gonna keep it. We're just keeping the pumpkins. But all right, everybody have a good night and see you next time.